So, and I just think throughout life, as we start to develop and come into our own, and life starts lifing, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Life is lifing, and you're doing all the things that you know to do,
Yeah.
but you're still not seeing the results or the success or the
Yeah.
happiness or the fulfillment that you want. Like, what is the problem? What is the disconnect here?
Welcome back to the Shattered Mindset podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that redefine our thinking and set us on new paths. I'm your host, Melvin Larry, and I'm excited to be here with Miss Karla Johnson. And she's a person who is a transformational coach, uh, Army veteran, and author and mother. And so just glad to have you here. How you doing?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm well, and yourself?
Fantastic, fantastic. I appreciate you sitting down with me today to just talk a little bit on this episode and being a person who has a varied background with the military and with your coaching. You're an author. You're a mom. Uh, my goodness, you ran the gamut of things, haven't you? You've done a thing. But we have a shared focus in the area of mindset and personal development. And, I think that, it makes for an insightful time for us to be able to come together to really talk about some things. So how about we start out with you telling us a little bit about you?
Well, I am a mom of three, as you have said. I am a U.S. veteran with the Army. Um,
Thank you. Happy Veterans Day.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm an author of Elevate Your Thinking, because I think thinking is one of the most difficult things that we have to do.
Mhm.
And we're often taught what to think and not how to think. So,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. So,
that is true.
and I am just keep developing and expanding myself, and I keep
Yeah.
growing into the fullness of truly who I am and being present in the moment, because that's all we have is the moment, and just making life the best that it could possibly be.
So in doing that, I mean, obviously, I don't know, that didn't come out of thin air. So you just what 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 about your life shaped you getting into where you are now? See, this whole podcast is about life in the middle and, how this thing affected that thing and this thing affected that thing. And so before you were a mom of three and a veteran and a coach and all of that, who was Karla?
I was a very curious kid with a lot of questions,
Ah,
right? I was always curious by nature, and I always had questions that no one could give me answers to.
mm,
I remember being in church, and I was young, because I've been in church all my life. My
yeah.
grandmother raised me. I used to ask, well, where's God's mom and dad? Well,
Where's
where are
God's
they?
mom and
Yeah,
dad?
like, who's telling him what to do? Like, where did this all come from? And I was always told, don't question God, just pray about it. And it just didn't sit well with me, because
Yeah.
the things that I was reading about
Mm-hmm.
and I was learning about in Sunday school,
Yeah.
I was not seeing it on the back end. It was a disconnect. And so I would always bring up questions like, wait a minute, but you said this, you told me this,
Yeah.
but this is happening. So what's the problem? And it was always be quiet.
How did that curiosity play out for you with other people? Were they accepting of that and accommodating of that? No, no.
No, it was always, there's Karla. You know she has questions. If somebody
Yeah.
gonna ask a question, it's gonna be Karla, because I wanted to understand.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be doing something out of not understanding why I was doing it. And I think the older I got, the worse it got, because
Oh, you
the
were the why kid.
like, why is this happening? You said if I do A and B, I'm gonna get to C. And sometimes C was missing. So I was like, well, I did what you said and that didn't work. Why didn't it work? So, and I just think throughout life, as we start to develop and come into our own, and life starts lifing, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Life is lifing, and you're doing all the things that you know to do,
Yeah.
but you're still not seeing the results or the success or the
Yeah.
happiness or the fulfillment that you want. Like, what is the problem? What is the disconnect here?
What challenges did that present to you through life coming up?
I would say the biggest challenge is being misunderstood and
Yeah.
probably misunderstanding my own self
Mm-hmm.
and not being still within myself. And instead of searching for answers within, I was always looking for my answers without, outside of myself,
Yeah.
which was a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not there, right?
No.
Is that how did that play into you? And I'm going to come back to this, but I just want to throw this out now. How did that play into you becoming a transformational coach?
Well, I just saw the areas where I started doing the work, internal work on myself, and I saw the shift in mindset and the light bulb going off.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was helping other people anyway,
Yeah.
without realizing that I was helping them. And then I realized I was passionate about that. I was passionate about people knowing what the absolute truth was so they too can make the change in their lives. And I just really, like, for myself, I was just so tired of being defeated or feeling defeated, right?
Okay.
And I got tired of the people who I thought was going to help me or lead me to the grand old truth,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have any answers either. And when I realized how freeing it was for me to be able to be in a mental space and have clarity and then be able to understand and then start connecting the dots, it just opened up a whole nother world. And I was like, you know what? If I'm dealing with this, I'm sure other people are too. So maybe I can help them
Yeah.
connect their dots. And so,
Yeah.
just start doing it like with family members and with friends. And before you know it, it's just like, oh my God, what you said worked. It really worked. And I'm like, well,
There's something here, huh?
yeah, something here is the truth.
So, uh, do you do you think that there's a lot of that out there, a lot of people who are having those internal struggles like that?
I would venture to say most people
Most people.
have internal struggles. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So they don't just come out clear-headed and
No, even though they may
project that.
appear to be, and I think it's different levels to it as well.
Yeah.
It all depends on what a person um, really desire to have. For me, it's peace. Without peace, nothing else matters. It's like a chaos and you're
Yeah.
tossed here and there and
Yeah.
you're up today and down tomorrow. And to me, there's no way to live.
So as a mom of three, two of which are adults, and a 9-year-old.
Yes.
You're brave. You're brave. Two adult children and a 9-year-old. You're quite brave. Uh, how have your experiences uh, in life, coming up through life, being a coach, uh, being a veteran, and all that? How has that all played into your life now? And I know some of it played out before your children, but how has that?
I would say at home, I'm less coach. If I'm gonna coach anybody at home, it's myself.
Your mom at home?
I'm mom at home. Because I understand where they are and I understand if they're not in a place to receive what I'm saying. And sometimes you can do more damage
Hmm.
offering somebody something that you think can help them.
Wow. Have you ever been in a position where you had to pull yourself back, or did you always really realize that that's the way you needed to deal with that?
No, I would say probably when the two adults became adults, then I realized that I had to transition in my thinking as far as my relationship with them,
Okay.
right? Because I used to be dictatorship. I say you do.
Yeah.
That's just what it was, right? I'm not asking you to co-parent with me. If I tell you to do something, it's because I know, for more than and I just need you to do what I asked you to do. It was a command.
Yeah.
But once they become adults, I no longer give commands to my adults. I only give requests, and they have the right to deny my request without having a fear and a negative reaction from me, because they're not me, they're their own person. And my job is to help them and to help guide them to be the best who they are, not who I think they should be.
Got it. So how has your parenting influenced your persona, who you are? Because, you grew up, and however you grew up is how you grew up. And a lot of times, I know me, when I was growing up, I envisioned what I thought my children would be like and what kind of parent I thought I would be. Probably, I don't know if you did that, but I just kind of did it. Not that it worked out that way, but I kind of had a vision, and I remember what life was like for me growing up. And there are things that I wanted to project, and there are things that I totally didn't want to project. How do you see your parenting and how it plays in? You're a life coach and you're a parent and you're a person. How you pull all of that together?
Right. So, of course, now my style of parenting with the 9-year-old is completely different than it was with the adults. I'm in a different headspace. I think differently. Things that I worried so much about, how it's going to turn out, I don't worry about those things anymore. But I will say with the 9-year-old, I'm aware of his programming. So I purposely
That's an
put
interesting
things
term.
in place to program him without him realizing that he's being programmed, which I didn't get that with the older two because I didn't know to do that, right?
Right. So you grew up with your children,
Right.
and so you had to learn some things as well. So, what took you to the military? Did you go from school to military or from school to college?
I graduated high school and I went straight to the
To
military. I had a baby. And my grandmother who raised me, she had got sick during an ice storm in 94 and I graduated in 96. And I really didn't have anything. I was like, wow, something happened to my grandmother. I'm going to be homeless. What am I going to do? And it was more so, I'm from a little very small town in Mississippi called Leland. And I wanted something more for my daughter. I didn't know what was more, but I knew it had to be something on the inside of me. It was like, you have to be able to provide for her what you didn't have. So, because I didn't have either one of my parents, my mother or my father, in my life growing up. I had my grandmother. And so, just with the notion of her being taken away, I knew from within, just a knowing that I had to do something different and I had to leave where I was in order to give my daughter something different.
I see. I see. So your daughter's the oldest.
Yes.
Okay. And and then you have a son who is a pilot,
Yes, it's commercial pilot.
commercial pilot. All right. And your daughter does what does she do?
She's a computer science engineer, and now she's back in school for physical therapy. So,
My goodness, that's totally different stuff, huh? So from this computers, how the computer works to how the body works, huh?
yes.
I like that. I like that. What's your 9-year gonna do?
Um, I'm not quite sure. He's very good in a lot of things. He loves
Okay.
music. He's
Yeah.
very advanced um on the piano. But I'm not sure. I'm kind of like leaving it up to him to explore.
Okay. Okay. So with your coaching, obviously you have to have certain principles for coaching and a style because we have different types of coaches. You're a transformational coach. I recently sat down with a young lady who is a relationship coach. What principles are a foundation of your coaching style, and how do they facilitate growth?
I would say my approach is very holistic, and with coaching and consulting, I think goes hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times when people come to you, they don't have the answers.
Right.
And if they had the answers, they wouldn't come to you. And some people do not have the mind, they're not in the mindset or the skill to find the answers,
Okay.
even though it may be in front of them. And so I think my approach to people is to meet them where they are and help them get clarity about where they want to go.
Do you find that it's difficult to get to that place of clarity before you can really get started?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because most of the time people are so caught up in their emotions and they're driven and they're making decisions from emotional places. And they just don't, they don't, most of the time they just really don't know. They just know whatever they're experiencing at that moment, they
Yeah.
don't want that. They want something different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So did you ever find yourself in your coaching uh thinking did it change anything about your mindset about people and how people approach things? What are you learning from your coaching?
Well, I guess the biggest lesson I could say that I'm learning from my coaching is it works if the people work it. And I can't do the work for someone else, no matter how much I want to.
Yeah.
Like that they always say you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink.
True.
And so you have to realize that a person have to be in a place, they have to be coachable. Everybody is not coachable.
Yeah.
And some people, they're not going to accept it. They're not going to do it. It's like people that go to the doctor. They Google everything, they go to the doctor, but they don't follow any of the instructions. And it's like, well, if you think you're the doctor, why did you even go to the doctor?
Why go?
Right. But then
Right.
they complain about their results. And I know the biggest thing I could say from coaching is, like I said, myself, if it's something that I wouldn't do myself, I shouldn't tell somebody else to do it. And if it's a place that I haven't been and I can't take them, don't talk to them about it.
But that's because there are people who have had wide ranges of experience, some of which you probably haven't even had. How do you deal with that kind of a thing? Because you haven't been there sometimes.
And I have to direct them to people who does that, because nobody knows everything. And I think when people try to take on the idea of, oh, I can just do A through Z. No,
Yeah.
I'm good at A, a
Yeah.
little bit at B.
Yeah.
And if you need D, I'm gonna direct you to go over here to
Okay.
D.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we know that a lot of that is all about mindset,
Right.
right? And in your book, Elevate Thinking, how did you approach mindset?
I think my thinking behind it at that time, because my mindset has changed since then, but I think at the time when I approached the mindset, I was thinking
Was that your first book?
that was one of my first
One of
ones.
you, because you did three?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right, right.
I was just thinking that how I was processing information
Yeah.
and how it was affecting my results,
Mhm.
and how when I started making the changes and the transitions, and how when my mindset shifted, how I started seeing my perception just start changing about life as a whole when I changed the way I was thinking. And I say it's really that simple. Our thoughts control
Mhm.
our emotions control what we say, how we
Mhm.
feel,
Mhm.
but everything's gonna go back to a thought. And well, I forgot who said it. They're famous for saying that if you think you can, you can. If you
If you
think you
think you
can't, you
can't, you
can't.
can't, right,
And both of them are correct.
right.
And so once I really took hold of that,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? This is really, it's true. It's simple, but it's very profound. And if I don't get control of my thinking and
Yeah.
directing my thinking,
Yeah.
right? And being purposeful with my thinking, then I was going to continue to get what I was getting, which was thinking all over the place and life all out of control.
Yeah, because sometimes my thinking is just like a little boy at the water hole, just like all over the place. But like I said, I think it's that our thoughts control our emotions control our actions control our results,
Yes,
and our results control our lifestyle.
yes,
Yeah. So you find that a lot of people um, operate out of their emotions.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And they let their emotions guide them.
Most people, I say half of us, well, three-fourths of us act out of emotions, the other out of logic. It's just the way that they're programmed, I guess you could say.
So you wrote another book about mindset, mastering your mindset.
Yes.
And tell me about that.
Well, once again, we get to create the life that we want, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people think that it's just what it is. It's not what it is. It's what it is, if that's what you think that that's what it is. And so, um, you have to take responsibility for where you are, and accountability, as well as where you're trying to go. And you can't put it on anyone else. And you just got to sit with yourself, and you got to say, okay, what do I want? Most people don't even know what they want. Let's start there. They think they know. or they get it and they're like, oh, that's not what I really, really want.
Yeah.
But you have to really get to a place where you get to the real you. Let me start there. You have to discover who you truly are,
Yeah.
right?
Wow, that's a
And
big one.
then you have to determine what it is you want. And then you have to believe in it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to go against all your negative thoughts. You have to know when you have a negative thought, that's not you. It's just a thought, and you get to reject it and accept the ones that you want to have.
Yeah.
And it really becomes a game of life, right? And the only person that can stop you from winning in life is you.
How do you differentiate? Well, first of all, what do you think about the value in counseling and coaching, and how do you differentiate the two?
Counseling is about jumping in a rabbit hole with you. They
Mm,
want to explore your past, well, this happened and that happened, and I feel this way, and why am I feeling this way? Coaching is saying, okay, I'm not gonna get in the hole with you. I'm at the top of the hole. Where are you trying to go? When you're ready to get there, I'm gonna get your hand and we're gonna
we're
go
gonna
there.
pull you out of there.
Right. And I'm just gonna shine the light on the path that's already there.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's the difference between coaching and counseling. I think both are equally as important, but I also believe that you're only as good as your teacher. So you have a lot of people out here who are coaches and counselors, and there it might be some information that would give you a level of result, but
Yeah.
are you going to be able to sustain it? Because what I find the biggest thing for me as a coach
Mhm.
is always recognizing the absolute truth from a fact. And a lot of counselors and coaches, they're not successful in their own lives.
Yeah.
And they're operating from facts. And if you're going to operate from a fact, that means you have limitations. That means you're bound by circumstances. And that's just not the case when you have the right mindset and you know that you are unlimited and you are unstoppable, but you're not going to know that unless you have the right person guiding you. I mean, it's no different just like in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
If you want a great coach that's going to lead you to championships,
Yeah.
they hire certain people for a reason.
Exactly. Exactly. So how do you deal with these limiting beliefs, and what are some of the common limiting beliefs that you meet when you talk to people?
Believe it or not, most people don't think they have those beliefs.
They don't think they have them?
That yes,
Really?
yes.
Wow.
They don't think they have the beliefs. And I can just pretty much maybe 3 or 4 minutes of talking to somebody, I can kind of tell what some of their core issues are and what's stopping them because I can know what's coming out of their mouth. And then they'll tell me, no, Karla, you're wrong. That's not how it is. That's not how I feel. And I say, okay, when you're ready, because you might not be at a place right now to receive what I'm saying, but when you're ready, one day you will understand, oh, that's what Karla was trying to tell me.
Wow. Wow. So have you seen people who have made a shift, taking that coaching, and they've had a shift, or have you had a mindset shift, or in areas and different things that you've dealt with in yourself?
Oh, yes, I've had well, most of the people that I talk to, I've had some people, I'm not gonna say names, but I've had
Oh,
some
you can
people
give me their names. I'm just jotting down. No,
that was
no.
just like, oh my God, Karla, I listened to you and I didn't get what you said I was gonna get and this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what? When you're done having your temper tantrum,
Yeah.
that's not what I said.
Okay.
You're in your emotions, and when you're ready to move forward and do the work that you need to do, right? Stop trying to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to it. And it may be a couple weeks later and things actually work out and they actually start putting in the work. They actually start being aware of what they're thinking, how they're thinking, coming against that. You can do affirmations and start affirming. And in the beginning, it could be a little weird saying an affirmation when you really don't believe that about yourself. Like most people think they love themselves. And what I have found to be true, most people do not love themselves.
Do not love themselves.
They think they do. They think they
How can
do.
they not love themselves?
No. Look at the things that they allow in their lives.
Wow.
Look at
Well,
their
how can you bring that out in somebody? How can you tell? that somebody doesn't love themselves.
Well, when they start telling you about their life and they start telling you about the problems that's going on, and this one is doing that, and this is doing that, and this is doing it, and it's like, well, you allowing that. Like
Mm,
you meet no one but you. What are they
yeah,
reflecting back to you?
yeah,
Why are you like this? And it's like, you know what? If you loved yourself,
yeah.
what does loving yourself mean? And then they go into telling me, oh, when I was younger, this happened. So if you had all the love you needed, you had all the support you needed, you had everything in place, then how would you react and how would you respond? And oftentimes they would say, oh, well, I would feel this way.
Hmm.
Why?
Hmm.
Why would you feel this way? Right? Or
Yeah,
they hold someone else responsible for their happiness.
yeah.
That's a sure sign most people don't love themselves.
Wow. So do you have a game plan or a blueprint that you give people to maybe have some kind of daily habits or processes that they can take where it helps them to really find themselves?
Well, I really take each person individually because we're all, different.
Yeah,
And sometimes doing checklists and things can be overwhelming to
yeah,
people.
true.
So I just really try to get people to understand what the absolute truth is. If they
Hmm.
want to go the approach on the spiritual approach, we can go to it as your source being God.
Yeah,
Some people say their source is the universe. I'm not to tell you who your source is,
yeah.
whether it's the universe or whether it's God or whether you want to get into quantum physics and you say it's the energy field, whatever that is, you have to find yourself getting back to that place of that source because that is where you came from. And in order for you to understand anything about yourself or how you're going to operate and be successful in life,
Yeah.
once you get your information from that source, then I believe it kind of like, I don't know, it gets people to thinking different, right? Because they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, wow, I was thinking this. And it's like, okay, well, perhaps it's something different. And
Hmm.
all these other people who have achieved the level of success, the level of peace, or whatever it is that you're seeking, if
Hmm.
they're telling you they all have this in common and it goes back to their source and what they're thinking, then maybe, you should just try it out for yourself. And so I just give them like, I approach everybody, like I said, depending on their personalities or what I think they can handle. But the smallest thing I would say is probably affirmations.
Smallest.
The small affirmations and negative talk to yourself, being aware of that. Because it doesn't matter what you say about me, it matters what I say about me.
So when most people think of affirmations, they think of them as positive. But when you say affirmations, are you saying that people are having negative affirmations?
Yes. Yes.
That's interesting.
People are having negative conversations in their heads
Right.
to themselves that no one else knows. And you have that what you because you believe in that and it's dominant. And when you and not to get too much into it, but when you learn about your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is your
You can get
program.
into it.
Yeah, well, um, it's this book by Dr. Joseph Murphy, and it's The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Hmm.
That book was really life opening for me because it was the principles was on the Bible, which I was in agreement with, but it was very simple
I
and it
read
was
that
very
book.
easy for me to read. And I was like, you know what? It is true. Some people have and other people don't. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? It might be something to what he's saying here. And then when I started realizing, even with the TV, what's the proper name for a TV? Television. Someone's telling their vision.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? We've been getting programmed
Right.
from the beginning.
From the beginning.
They show the same commercial over and over and over.
Subliminal and
Yeah,
all that.
and it's programming. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Now that I know I don't like my program, how do I change my program?
And that's the whole thing, because there's another book, Psycho Cybernetics, and we do program ourselves. We can,
Yeah.
and we do it whether we are trying to do it or not. Either we're programming ourselves or being programmed,
Yes.
in some kind of way. And so we can make a conscious effort to change that, but it's not something that just happens. If we allow it to just run its course, then we're usually not going to be going the direction that we want to go,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And so we have to be It's kind of something we talked about a little bit earlier. In some cases, you have to be a little bit controlling, especially when it comes to controlling the direction that you want to allow yourself and your mind to go. Because, like you said, things begin with our thoughts before it ripples over into all of those other things, our emotions and our actions and our results and our lifestyle. It starts with our thoughts.
And I'm glad you said the word lifestyle because it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many times people get comfortable and they'll think, oh, well, I got a result here. I'm good. And they're feeling good. Their vibrations are high.
Yeah.
They're like, I've mastered this.
Yeah.
But if they don't continue to do the work, if they don't continue to work on their self-concept, because you can manifest so many different things, but your self-concept, well, it's almost like it'll self-sabotage you because you have not done the true work on who matters the most, which is yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so I found that it most definitely is a lifestyle. It's something that you have to grow on and you have to continue in it. You can't just, like I said, you can't just do it a one-time thing and that's it. You have to continue to be conscious and aware, and it has to be on purpose. And Reverend Ike, which he's no
Reverend
longer
Ike.
with us. Yes, I love myself some Reverend Ike. He has this easy fix for when you're thinking of negative things.
Okay.
He said, you're facing the darkness, turn around. Turn around and face the light. So if you have a negative thinking, turn around.
Yeah.
It's not the truth.
Yeah.
It's a fact, but
Yeah.
it's not the truth. And it's as simple as you turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? That's it. And I find myself using that myself because sometimes you could just wake up and just get some stinking thinking.
I've awakened like that.
Yeah, like turn around. Like yesterday was so good. What's happening today?
What's happening?
It's like turn around. And I try to tell people never get below a 5 with my vibrations. I try to stay even. I don't try to go below a 5. And if I find myself shifting below that, I immediately do whatever I know that I need to do to get myself to at least a 5.
Wow. So now that's interesting. So wow, how do you monitor that gauge? I mean, how do you know whether you're at 3 or 4 or 7? How do you do that?
Well, if you're sad, depressed, then you're probably at the bottom. Okay.
Okay.
If you're doing a whole bunch of whining and complaining and griping, then you're at the bottom and you probably got all types of crazy stuff happening in your life that you just feel like, oh my God, all this stuff just keeps happening to me.
Yeah.
But when we're kind of even tone, we're not really the happiest we've been, but we're not sad at all. We just kind of like, today's okay. It could be better, but it's okay.
Do you filter those levels with the people around you? You're like, she's a 4 right now. I'm gonna have to go somewhere else.
Depend on who the person is.
Yeah.
Like I make exceptions for 1 or 2 people that no matter what their vibrations are, they can still be in my space because we understand what that is. But for the most part, if you're not that 1 or 2 people, then I will distance myself because no matter how positive you are, they will have a way of affecting you. It may not be right then at that moment. It could be like the next morning you wake up like, why am I feeling like this? Or why am I feeling drained? Because it's energy, it's an exchange of energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So did you find a place or coming through life where you said, I have an aha moment and this is going to make a transformation for me? Or was it a gradual, constant level of transformation? Is there anything that happened that you had aha moments?
Okay, aha moments. I think it's been gradual because it's just been constantly different aha moments for me. Not just like one thing that's changed everything. I've had different moments and
Can you share one?
I had an aha moment some years ago when I first moved to Atlanta. I didn't know where I was. I was driving and I ended up in East Point, and I didn't know it was the best part of the city. And I was just hanging out with somebody and I got robbed at gunpoint.
Oh.
And at this time, I had a lot of other stuff that was going on in my life. Like I knew God, but my personal relationship, like I knew religion,
Yeah.
right? But I just didn't know him personally.
Yeah.
And I remember,
Yeah.
the scripture says that, he'll never leave you or forsake you. And I, not expecting to hear anything, I said out of my mouth, I was like, God, where were you? Why did you allow this to happen to me?
Yeah.
And just like I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
I heard an inner voice say, how do you think you walked away without a scratch?
Wow. Mm.
And that was like, so I became so emotional because I knew, even in my ignorance, he was there protecting me when I was even questioning if he was even real.
Yeah.
So that was a big moment for me to let me know, listen, this is bigger than you, Karla. It's a lot of things that's outside of what you don't see, taste, feel, and hear that's happening
Mm-hmm.
that you need to find out about.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
good. That's good because sometimes you need that.
And I knew that was the real and true God.
Yeah.
And it put me on a journey of seeking,
Yeah.
what was that?
Yeah.
What was that voice coming from? And so, yeah.
So did that have anything to do with a part of your educational process? Because I think you did some things with going to school for
Yeah, I
theology.
went to school for religion at Liberty University. I think that was just, I was doing it to check some boxes,
Okay.
but I really enjoyed it because it gave me a different perspective outside of the tradition that I was under.
Okay.
And it just revealed a lot of things to me. It didn't give me what I thought it was going to give me,
Okay.
but nevertheless, it did give me a lot of information.
What did you think it was going to give you?
And I thought when I went, I was going to have this great experience, and like the sky was going to open, and I was just going to have this encounter with God that was just so
Have a
life
just
changing.
enlightening,
Yes,
enlightening
yes, I thought that's what I was going to have,
in your
and
period of enlightenment that they
it
saw.
was not. And like I shared with you earlier, I thought it was just mind shattering that someone can teach a class about God that don't even believe in God. Like, how can you do that? And I was just like, these people, they're giving you all this information, they got all these big fancy words, but this is just their perspective. Like, I need to get beyond this, and I need to get to what the truth is, not just what you're saying, because if it's the absolute truth, it's going to work every time. It's like a formula. When you do it, it's going to work every time, no matter who does it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like gravity. Gravity is a law. It doesn't matter who operates with gravity, it's going to do the same thing. If you jump off the Empire State Building with no parachute,
You coming,
hasta luego, it's the
you going
end.
down.
You're going down. Whether you're saved, not saved,
Yes.
male, female,
Right,
rich,
right,
poor,
right.
mentally stable,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So I wanted something that was going to prove itself each time for everybody that did it. And I didn't find that in
Yeah.
school. I did not.
You really found the reality of human life and existence
Yes.
there, because it's not a one size fits all,
Right.
is it? Let me shift gears in that thought process. So tell me about your future endeavors and where you're going, and then maybe I want to get some advice or you give some advice on people's directions toward mindset and such.
Um, in my future, I'm still right now, I'm in a place of seeking complete clarity of what's for Karla, not for
Mhm.
another version of what somebody else said for Karla. And I really see myself, I have a desire for public speaking. I have a desire for live events. I have a desire to just help people discover who they are and maybe give them some answers to these tough questions that we have about life that no one else seems to be able to answer, so they can start to make sense of life.
So you and I met at a storytelling event that was that was geared toward, you know, educating us in the process of storytelling and so forth. How does that play into what you've done, where you are, and where you're going?
Well, as Andy say, you never tell a story without making a point, and never
And
make a
never make a
point
point
without
without
telling a
telling a story.
story, right? And so, it just when you're operating in whatever, you want to operate in excellence,
Yeah.
right? And so I just believe that if that's what you want to do, then you have to go to the people that have done it before you. And so that's how we end up having an encounter with each other. Meeting an event for Andy.
Yep, Andy Enriquez, with the, what was it? The master storyteller is a guy. Yep, sure did. So yeah, we're just trying to get the messaging right. And so what kind of projects do you have coming up?
Right now, I'm working with a couple of people to just put on a live event.
Okay.
I want to do my first live event, in person, and I want it to be. I see it in my head. I see the vision,
Yeah.
right? And I just working on letting that come together.
What would that live event be? What are the people, who are the people that would be a part of that event? Well, I mean, not specific, but types of people that would be a part of that you would bring on board.
So I have a couple of people who maybe was lost in transition in life, and they were able to discover who they are and how it shifted them and how it made them take a near different direction in life, and they were able to really start obtaining the life that they wanted to have and not just be on the sidelines seeing someone else. I think nothing is worse than being in a car paying for something that you don't want, and every time you see these nice cars, you're like, one day I'm gonna get one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that one day could be now.
Yeah,
And if you change your mind, you can change your life.
especially if you change your mindset.
Yes.
For sure, for sure. So for aspiring coaches, and there are a lot of people who are working to be that, what kind of advice would you give that person who says, I want to be a coach?
I would say, make sure you're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
Number one, don't just do it because you think it's money in there, or, you're going to be out in front of people and gain followers and things of that nature. And if it's something that it did not help you, don't offer it to someone else.
That's good. That's good. So what final thoughts can you offer to our audience and so forth, and just tell them, a key message or a takeaway, that you leave, like leave regarding mindset and transformation. So what would you leave?
If I had one thing to tell everybody, I would really tell you to just take the time out to discover who you are. Because when you do that, you will discover what you can do and what you can have. And it only begins with a thought. And as simple as it sounds, if you can change your mind and you can change your life. That would be
Wow.
it.
So how do you use social media to help you to get your message out?
Now, I'm not a big social media person. My niece and people tell me all the time, oh, auntie, you need to be doing this and you need to be doing that. Right now at the moment, I understand it's a platform and it serves its purposes and things of that nature. But I am on a social media diet because words are seeds. And so
Yeah.
I'm being very cautious of what seeds I allow into my mind because they're going to grow. And
Yeah.
so right now I'm just kind of backing off of that. But if
Okay.
someone wanted to reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or something like that, they can just send it to me under Coach Karla. But yeah, I'm not.
Just Coach Karla.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
Coach
not a
Karla.
big social media.
With a K.
Yeah, with the cake. I'm not a big social media type person.
Okay, okay. So you gave a message to people who might look toward getting coaching. What last words would you have for this general audience with regard to uh, mindset and your purpose and how you would translate toward other people in life?
I mean, once again, and it's like the great writer said before me, don't conform to the things of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But you got to be careful what you renew your mind to. And if it's not going to gear you towards going in the direction that you want to go, I would suggest, like good Reverend Ike said, turn your back on the darkness and face towards the light. And just don't be afraid of doing the work. Like, what do you have to lose? You've come this far and you still don't have what you want. and you want what you want, you're the only person that can get it for you. So
No doubt. So, hey, listen, I appreciate you being with me today and taking the time out to sit down and share. This has been really good. And I think that, it's a topic that so many of us really need to address because it's, 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 it's all a head game.
the game of life.
It's a game of life. So, hey, listen, everyone, listen, we're glad that you joined us here on the Shattered Mindset podcast. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll like. I hope you'll share it with somebody. And definitely leave a comment about this podcast. In the meantime, come back again, keep adapting, keep growing, keep setting your sights on higher heights in life. Take care, take charge. God bless.